Okay, Mike, so final home game this afternoon. Bradford have taken the win, so what's the initial reaction?
Very similar to recent games that we've had here. I think that their quality and experience just told in the end, and the interchange was a huge part of the game. I thought their interchange changed the game for them, and our interchange just struggled really. And then off the back of that, I just thought as a team, then we started to panic a little bit, and just showed a bit of immaturity there. Whether it was things aren't quite going our way, they got some momentum. Chris Hill's come on and really changed the games. Then Musgrove's come on, dented a few holes in us, those type of things, and we're not quite making as many metres, and things aren't quite going our way. But just end your sets, get to your kicks, kick the ball deep. We had a period of 2 poor kicks and 1 non-kick just before half time, and then 1 kick out on the full. So those 3 outcomes and the kick out on the full, I thought were massive parts in the game really, because it wasn't a 12-10 game at half time. It was probably a 12-6 game at best for them. I thought that flattered them massively at half time, and they just come over us in that period just after half time, and we couldn't quite maybe get our cavalry back on together. We had some tough luck as well. Sid comes off, we get into the sheds at half time. We've dominated them front to back, and they've changed all their middle. They've used 4 changes, we've used 3, but then we come in at half time and Sid can't re-enter the field with a bit of a peck that we need to get a closer look at, and then Ben Hersey plays a couple of minutes and gets knocked out. So before you know it, we're just down bodies then, and it was always going to be tough for us.
I mean, obviously you'll be hugely disappointed to have lost the game, naturally, but an entertaining game and a good number of people in the stadium today. You know, I feel like a good event, a good spectacle.
It was a great spectacle, yeah. It was really good, but fortunately for us as a team, which is my focus point, is we're just stuck where we are at the minute. We've not got quite enough experience or quality to just get over the line in those bigger games, which has proven in the last 3 big games that we've had at home for me, in Oldham, Toulouse and Bradford. But I just think for periods, once again, in that first half, we were by far and away the better team for 35 minutes of that game. And obviously, it was a little bit too late at the end, wasn't it, when we started moving the ball.
Was there any special or particular message you've given to the players at the end of the day, or will that all kind of wait until next weekend?
I haven't really spoken to them after that. This today was about just coming together and just thanking the fans as the last home game, and just being together. We haven't debriefed the game whatsoever.
Did you worry at half-time that you hadn't put them away points-wise after that half-hour, superb first half-hour? They've almost not got out of their half, and you've gone in level. Did you think that's going to cost us?
Yeah, I wouldn't say I worried, but I knew that there was a period of game where we have to manage. When they've got Chris Hill, Zane Musgrove, Mitch Suter and Eben Scare coming off the bench, and we've got a very inexperienced bench, and we're giving away a lot of weight and power there, it's always going to be a period of the game where we have to step up another level, not drop off a level, and understand that they'll get some momentum in the game with those blokes on. And ultimately their blokes got pulled off because we'd done such a great job on them, all their middles. There was, I think, 2 or 3 of them were off after 15 minutes. But their bench absolutely changed the game for them, I thought. And listen, what we've got out there, if you look at the average age of that bench, what we've got coming off there, and the amount of championship games that they've played together, it's nothing, is it? And unfortunately, we just couldn't quite compete in that period.
How did you feel about the fact that your starting 1 to 13 was pretty close to full strength for what seemed like first time for so long? Did you look and think, well, what could have been? You're looking out there and think if I'd had that team all season?
Yeah, I'm confident that if we would have had a little bit more money to spend, we'd have been in the playoffs. I no issue with that, with saying that and putting that on record right now. We've just been so far behind the 8 ball that it was never going to happen. You're right, that starting 13, I think, I would say, is the strongest team we've had out all year. But then we lacked a lot of experience on the bench, really, which just hurt us a little bit. That's not a slant on those blokes, it's just a reality of where they're at. if you could possibly mix that up a little bit and leave some more experience on the bench. But I believe that we could get through that period. I think the Ben Hersey one and Sid going up, they were just massive game changers for us. Losing Sid and then Ben Hersey, because when Ben comes on for us, he stays on. He's a middle, and then have to change again. His effort areas would have been really important for us today. So, but no, it is what it is. That starting 13 today, I thought they dominated their starting 13. Front to back, you can't argue with that. I don't think they got out the 40, they didn't get out the 30, unless we give a penalty away. They didn't. They really didn't. So, there's certainly some encouraging signs from that.
2 weeks ago, you didn't know whether you were going to be in the first, second, or third division next season. We now know it's going to be first or second. How on earth are you planning with player recruitment, contracts? Have you got a whole plan A and a plan B and talking to two sets of players? How are you doing it?
Well, we're not really at the minute, truth be told. We've got a few players signed up for next year and we're ready to push the button as and when. You know, we have a little bit more of an indication of the monies that come into the club. We certainly won't have the direction of travel because that's only going to get done in October. So, but I still believe, I firmly believe that we're in a good position. I know that might sound crazy, but from where we were to be where we are now, competing with good teams and be in a position where we're hopeful that money will come into the club, whether it's the group that we're here today or whether it's someone else, then I think we're in a pretty positive position.
So is each individual player having to discuss whether they'll be here regardless of what division you're in? Is it literally if we're in Super League, I'll stay, or I'm staying regardless because you're going to offer me this? Is there a big difference? I guess what I'm asking is there a big difference between what you're going to offer somebody to be in the Championship and Super League?
Yeah, and also you have to consider whether those players want to be full-time.
Yeah.
So there's a dose of reality here that we can't just transition this squad. We're a bottom of the Championship team. Just going full-time is not going to transform this. We have to keep improving the players we've got, but we have to make sure that we strengthen as well across the board, across the park, on the field, off the field. The players that I have recruited or retained for next year are players that I knew 100% I would have lost if I didn't get them something down, but also players that could stay part-time but want to be full-time. So as and when we get the green light for money, if we don't get that money through the door, we have to continue as we are, which is we're currently propped up by some a series of smaller shareholders, and we have to continue in the same vein as what we are now. We will do that with those players plus more. If we are in a position where we go full-time and we get a big cash injection, those players will be part of that, obviously, and we can work through the rest of the squad and add accordingly.
I guess it's helped that last year you saw what a mixture of a hybrid programme, 4 training sessions a week, whatever it was, some players staying part-time. You saw what they could do in Super League. You know what they can do, don't you, a lot of those players? Yeah,
but you've got to understand that last year was about surviving with no spend. We can't recreate that at all. You have to understand that 4 of my starting 13 last year were part-time players. So we had to pander more to the part-time model than the full-time model, albeit we had full-time players and we run a hybrid programme. If this club has a cash injection, the club will be full-time and it will cater for part-time players with a strong reserve team that will allow us to give those players training and exposure to games and also be available for selection for the first team as and when. But it certainly can't be centralised around part-time players because it's too big of a jump up. I thought we were very commendable last year. We finished bottom, so that's the reality.
Is there any comfort from the fact that despite the budget that you've had this year, you've competed with all the top teams that are going for those Super League places, with Bradford, with Oldham, with York? They've all been tight games other than one against Oldham, I think. You've done that with the budget you had this year. What you could have done with even the budget they've got, let alone...
Yeah, I don't need their budget to win the competition. or to win the playoffs. Not being arrogant. If I could have had a little bit more money this year, I'd be very confident in our ability as a group to do really, really well. If you watch them big games, we're so close, but we're not much more of a spend from those being close games to being dominant wins, in my honest opinion. And I know every club can say that, but the way we've had to just scramble, we're just clubbing a team together every week. Been every week, other than this week. Last week was horrendous. The week before was just as bad. This was actually one of the most settled weeks that we've had in terms of the quality and a good outline of what the team will be by Tuesday.
Have other clubs come in for you, Mike?
Yeah, but I spoke to clubs, but that's no different than previous years.
What's kept you here?
It's still the most exciting. This is still the most exciting project in rugby league, but it's also different than any project in rugby league. By some, it's not comparable to anybody, anywhere, any other expansion. It's completely different, but it's the most exciting role or club to be involved in. If we can get it right, if we can get the right level of investment and the right plan in conjunction with the RFL and the game. You know, they're not putting a game at London for nothing, are they, in a couple of weeks' time?
And the most frustrating?
No, it just is what it is. Like I'm thankful, like David Hughes, he putting in £2 million a year, and it gets him a bottom of the table Super League team. You know, I just think we didn't have the money that the other teams had in 2023, but we got promoted. You know, we didn't have the money last year, we got not the money this year, but it's not all about money. It isn't. It's about putting the right plans in place. And it will take money. Obviously, it's going to take money. It's going to take big money, don't get me wrong, but you're going to need to put the right foundations in here to make sure that the finances do add up at some point, which is what I'm saying to you is to develop your own players over a period of time, and have players who live here. They live here, they're not commuting, or they're not moving to London for a period and leaving. And that, I firmly believe that's the foundation for this club.
To go back slightly, you talked a bit about the difference between if money comes in and if it doesn't come. Obviously, we are hoping for money to come in, apparently from Australia. If that doesn't come in, is the future of the club secure? Yeah,
Gary's put himself, you know, on a pedestal and said, "Yeah, I'm responsible for this, for the finances of the club," and he's delivered today to allow us to continue to pay salaries that we did as a club on our own for a period, and then add a couple of players alongside that as well. So, you know, at worst we can continue in this vein that we're in now. Which, when I say this vein now, is if we could go into the season next year, let's say we're in Championship and we're part-time, but we've got the squad that we've got now, I think we'd all be pretty enthused by what actually we could do with a stable an actual pre-season of players together.
Hi Mike, nice to meet you. Mike, if I can just start off by talking about that first half. For 35 minutes you were really the dominated force, and really Eaton Atoli and Liam Tyndall were the driving forces behind that. Eaton especially carried the world of ball back in terms of running yards in the first half. Did those two guys in particularly give you a platform in that first half?
Yeah, Tyndall was absolutely amazing, and Ethan was as well, to flip him into the back row as well. So once again he played a couple of positions. They were great. I thought all the team were great, to be honest with you. But you're right, them two certainly got our sets moving forward.
Yeah, and Mike, we mentioned about that, I suppose, you a crazy 2 or 3 minute spell just before half time. But I suppose as a coach, you were probably, albeit we know Bradford are quality side, but you're probably preparing yourself maybe to go in at 12-6, as you said. And then obviously for that to happen was probably a curveball. Did that really knock a bit of the confidence at half time, did you think?
Yeah, it could have done. Like, looking back, you know, and I'm fizzing up on the sideline, But then I just thought, take a breath, because we'd been absolutely outstanding there. And I just tried to reinforce how good the players had been. And we just had a crazy few-minute period and we got stung. But other than that, we're fine. We kick off and we run straight past the ball, carrying the ball. And straight away, it's like, okay, come on. You know, just settle down here and just get back into a grind. And we would have been fine, but we just didn't get that.
Yeah, and I suppose it just goes to show about the quality of the opposition, where any sort of minor mistake he made, they were ruthless in terms of capitalising it on there today.
They were. I mean, I'll just say it every week, but they're just awful tries that we give up. Terrible.
And Mike, one of those, particularly Joe Key's one in the second half, really stood out to me. There,
Yes.
he seemed to be able to have the world of time to waltz in under the post.
I don't know what to say about them tries. You've seen it yourself. There's a run through at half, and we're giving up inside shoulders, leaving space. Like that. They're just simple. They're just easy try. In the first half, they were panicking. They started to kick the ball early because they couldn't break us down, or we'd put them under a lot of pressure. And then we just give up some really soft inside shoulders.
Yeah, but you didn't fold, Mike. That was the important thing. In the second half, when it looked like that Bradford were going to stretch out that lead further and further, you showed a bit of resilience and a bit of grit, and you fought back and brought it down nearly to a single-digit game again in terms of that. So with the 2 tries from Tyndall, but you always showed that bit of grit. The heads didn't drop when things looked like they could have faded quite badly for you.
Yeah, and it wasn't. And I knew the message would just get back into a cycle here and we'll be absolutely fine. And the minute we did that, and the minute we got some ascendancy, we have a play one scrum, we get tackled, we throw the ball to them, and then Chris Hill picks the ball up and we're chasing back. We're down there again, Brandon throws the ball away, we'll lose a man. And those periods where we just got some control back in the game, you saw we scored a couple of tries. And if we could have just got another period of pressure, rather than just we're down there for a couple of sets, if we'd have stayed down there a little bit longer, we'd have been okay. But that's all just maturity. It's not an insult to say it's an immature team. It's a team that's learning. Like they won't do those things next year. The rate of development of those players next year, you'd be amazed how quickly they would develop and not make those mistakes again, and learning from just those little parts of the game where you get a little bit bored of just keep kicking. Joe Keys never gets bored of kicking the ball there, kicking the ball there, kicking the ball there. You know, and that's something that we have to learn. And it will come. Next year that will just be ingrained before you start your messaging around the players.
Last question for me, Mike. One thing was noticeable in terms of your defence, though. You did very well under the high ball. Any sort of time that Bradford looked to that option to dink it into the corner or go for that lob ball, you defended it very well in the air in terms of that. So there was no period that really you looked vulnerable under the high ball, or well, on the last phase of play when they tried to go to those corners with those sort of lobs, you defended them very well.
They did, and they were tough kicks. You see the size of their back five. They're all big trees, aren't they, with massive wingspans. So they did really well on them.
Just one more. Obviously, one thing in that game was the extent to which it was former London players who did quite a lot of damage. Keys, Armitage. Given the current politics of the game, is this deeply frustrating that these used to be our guys, or is it actually, given that we have to assert the importance of London in a rugby league, we can actually point at them and say, look, that's what we're giving to the game. Yeah, which is uppermost.
Yeah. No, I didn't look at them and think, well, they're London players at all, to be honest with you.
I guess the coach you don't during a game, would you?
No, but I'm still proud that we developed them and when they're playing the game to a good level and stuff. Absolutely.